Hello everybody, my name is Michelle Sosa and I am here to present your nutrition for weight loss. Now, I created this video because I want all of us, once and for all, to say goodbye to stressful, restrictive dieting. I'm here to teach you how to follow some strategic, sustainable guidelines to change your lifestyle. We've all heard the cliche, it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle change. And it's so cliche because it's a really great saying. I don't want you to be thinking about dieting all the time, but I do want to help set you guys up with some strategic guidelines that are going to turn into a lifestyle. And as you practice them, it's going to become completely second nature. So, my very first tip has to do with the importance of weight training. So weight training is so important because our body, our muscles hold energy in two different ways. They hold energy or glucose or sugar, they hold calories in our muscles, and then we hold calories in fat. So there's two different systems. That's why you can be very overweight and you still get hungry because you're not using that system. That's your fat storage. Most of us are carb adaptive, and that means that we eat foods and use carbs as our main fuel supply. And we get those carbohydrates from how much lean muscle mass we have. So lean muscle mass is everything that is not fat. It could be your skeleton, your bones, whatever, but you can increase your lean muscle mass by weight training and making your muscles bigger. You can't really make your bones bigger and all that stuff. They'll become more dense, but it really has to do with the lean muscle mass, and that has to do with weight training. So I want us to think of our body as a treasure chest, and I have two treasure chests right here. These two treasure chests are different bodies, and it's someone who's spent a different amount of time weight training. This body has not spent much time weight training, and this body has. So I also have these handy dandy calories. So sometimes when we want to compare ourselves to maybe an athlete or to someone else, and we say, Susan, she just eats all the time and she never gains weight. Well, she probably has a different treasure chest than you do. So I've got these calories, and what happens when we're hungry? We want to fill up our treasure chest, and it's all good when it still fits. Oh shoot, I'm gonna have to vacuum later. It's all good when everything fits inside of our muscles, and when we eat and we have portion control, that's what ends up happening. That's what ends up happening is all that food goes back into our muscles, into our glycogen stores. But then sometimes we're at brunch or we're having margaritas, and all of a sudden there's no more space, and now you've got some fat storage. Now, person number two, they went out with you. They ordered the same meal you ordered. Boom. They even ordered one more cocktail than you did. They even added queso. And all of a sudden, you saw them eating all this stuff, but for some reason, they always have a six-pack of abs, and they never gain much weight. And that's because your guys' treasure chests are two different sizes. So I also created the Facebook group One Lifted Life, not only to live in a very uplifting way spiritually, but also to really focus on weight training. And that's what I really want to teach you guys in the Facebook group. So there will be much more lessons on weight training as we go. So now, that was my first metaphor. So my second metaphor is, how many of you guys have ever gotten a speeding ticket? Not me. Never. No, I always get speeding tickets. I get speeding tickets, and sometimes you get a speeding ticket and you didn't even know what the speed limit was, and you're like, I didn't even know the speed limit. And guess what? The officer doesn't care, and he gives you a ticket anyways. Well, I think that When you don't know what your limits are, how many fats, carbs, and proteins that your body specifically needs, that is a way of not knowing your limit. You don't know what speed you're going. So you're just doing whatever, and then all of a sudden you're accumulating all this fat, and it's like a ticket. It's like, oh, you over deposited, and now you've got this fat storage. So when you don't know how much food you need to eat, that is dangerous, and you're going to be speeding. You're not going to know what to eat, and it will allow you to crash. Another way that not knowing what your carb and protein and fat intake is let me think. It's some people eat a lot of food at once, and then they say, okay, now I'm not going to eat for 5, 7, 10, 12, 24, 72 hours. I'm going to eat one meal, and then I'm not going to eat for 2 days. Well, then grandma's cookies come by, and then you're just setting yourself up to crash again. So I would really recommend that you use portion control. Now, portion control is like being on cruise control. You know the speed limit. You can, when I go on the highway, I just go 80. And I know I'm probably not going to get pulled over if I go 80. If I go 82 or 85, I'm probably going to get pulled over. I'm probably not going to go 70 because I want to get where I'm going. So I put my car on cruise control, and I just set it and I forget it. And that is what I want you guys to do, because we're going to work on nutrition for weight loss. And I also don't really like counting calories as much. I actually like to count units. So I'm going to help you guys calculate how many units of food you're going to need. Now, a really good way to calculate how many units of, I like to first start everything revolving around protein. I need to know what your protein intake is, and then I'll let you know your carbs, and then I'll let you know your fat intake. But protein intake is the most important, because it's going to help us build our treasure chest. It's going to help us build our lean muscle mass. If you're not getting enough protein, you're not going to be feeling full and satiated. So protein is really good. And if you eat too many carbs, you're going to want to keep eating. So it's also another tip that I want to give you is to try to eat carbs, protein, and fat together. So if you're going to eat an ice cream cone, eat an ice cream cone and beef jerky. If you're going to eat a bag of chips, eat a bag of chips and a steak. I don't know. Try to eat your macronutrients all together. Try not to just eat a bag of chips, have protein, have a protein shake with it, and vice versa. And that is a really good tip to live by. And this is the calculation that you guys are going to need. It is 1 gram of protein per pound of lean muscle mass. The lean muscle mass might trick you and might throw you for a loop. Some of you guys are going to have scales where you can step on the scale and you can see it will calculate a body fat percentage. Those are really good scales. And even though the body fat percentage may not be 100% accurate, it's going to allow you to see your progress over time, because whatever inaccuracy it had at the beginning, it's going to have that same inaccuracy at the end, and that makes it more reliable. So try to use the same scale, and having a body fat composition scale is a plus. If you don't have a scale to measure your lean body mass, I would say that is a really good investment. You should get a scale, because if you're trying to lose weight, you're going to want to see your progress. And my program does not work with regular calculations. I run a program that has a high amount of protein so that you can build muscle while you're working out, and the other calculations just make it too confusing. So definitely get a body fat calculating scale, and I've got a few, one by With Things, that I really like, and it can even send the progress report to your coach if you have one. And if you're having trouble, go ahead and sign up for a fitness evaluation with me. It's at www.calendly.com, and I will help you guys out as much as I can. So that is how you find how much protein you need. Once you get the amount of grams of protein that you need, we're going to break it down into units. So we're going to be eating a certain amount of units instead of doing something more daunting like counting each one of your fat grams and your carb grams and your protein grams. That gets to be a little bit tedious. It's easier for me, and it's going to be easier for you to track how many units you're eating per day rather than how many grams of carbs and all that kind of stuff. It gets very crazy, and I'm gonna give you a cheat sheet so that you can see just how much carbs and veggies and whatever. I'm gonna demystify all this stuff for you. Just hang tight. So now we know what our protein intake is. Alrighty. The other truth is that you're going to need to write this stuff down by hand, or if you like using a fitness app, you can do that. I like writing things by hand, but let me go ahead and I want to show you guys to the PDF that has the list of fat, carbs, and all that stuff. And I'm going to break down the units and how all that works. So at this point, you know your lean muscle mass. The lean muscle mass is in pounds is the same as the grams of protein. So for instance, for me, I'm 125 pounds of lean muscle mass. When I divide that by 12, I get about 10.5 units. So I want to eat 10.5 units per day. 1 unit is a snack, 2 units is a meal, and sometimes you fall in between that. While you're reading when you're reading the labels on food, some of the foods you find might look like 1.5 units. So if you look at, I don't know, like a lean cuisine meal, it might look more like 1.5 units than 2 units or 1 unit, or that vice versa. So if I can direct your attention down to the PDF that says carbohydrates, protein, and fat servings, I want to teach you guys how to use this this PDF. So in general, in order to make a snack, looking at the sheet of paper, there's kind of like an L shape. Those are all of your carbohydrates. It's all along the left-hand column and the bottom rows. Those are all carbohydrates. And all of those are broken down into serving sizes. So 20 grams of carbs is equivalent to 1 apple. It's equivalent to 1 banana, or 4 cups of broccoli. And you can see with veggies, you can eat more and it costs the same. So in order to make 1 unit or 1 snack, you're gonna choose 1 carbohydrate that's in that L shape. You're gonna choose 1 protein, and if you look there, it's 1.5 ounces of chicken or turkey venison. But if you go all the way down, the same amount of protein is in 2.5 ounces of fish. So if you want to eat a little bit more that day, you could choose fish instead of chicken, and you'll get to eat a higher volume of food, and it's the same amount of calories. That's why this is a very amazing cheat sheet, and it kind of is the middle ground between not knowing your macros at all and being really methodical about checking every single macronutrient. Once we hit the units, you're gonna be there. And then the last column, all the way on the right-hand side, that shorter column, that is 4 grams of fat, It's 5 or 6 raw almonds. You see 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Some people like to cook with olive oil. It's 1/8 of an avocado, and you can add that healthy fat onto your meal. Now, in order to make a meal, you want to pick 2 things from the L column, from the carbohydrate column. You want to pick 2 things from the protein column, and you can double up. You can have 2 servings of chicken. So you can have 3 ounces of chicken, because one unit would be 1.5 ounces. So 2 units would be 3 ounces of chicken. Or you could choose 2 different things. I normally just double the amount. I just would eat 3 ounces of chicken instead of 1.5. But the fat column, we still only want to choose 1 thing of fat, because fat is going to live in the other parts of our food, and we don't want to over fat ourselves. We don't want to take in too much fat. Okay, so that's basically how it goes. This is an awesome tool. If you guys are confused at all, please schedule a fitness evaluation with me. If you can kind of do it on your own, that's great. If you're a little bit confused, that's okay too. Go ahead and schedule that fitness eval with me. I want us to be able to eat and also lose weight if that's what we want, but we need to do it in a more smart and strategic way. And it's also better to have a fitness professional like myself helping you along the way. So if that's something that seems exciting to you, go ahead and get a hold of me. Thank you guys so much for listening to Nutrition for Weight Loss, and I will have an extra bonus video after this one, how to lose weight even faster but very safely. So here are my extra credit weight loss tips. So I'm already into just being very safe when we're losing weight, but I also want you to know all the strategies that there are. There's bonuses. If you watched my first video, you'll know that the very first thing I think you should do is you should build more muscles so that your body can hold more glycogen, or it can hold more calories without storing them as fat. So go ahead and use portion control. That's tip number 1. Weight train, that's tip number 2. But the bonus here is that I think you should eat every 3 or 4 hours. Most of us are carb adaptive. That means we use carbohydrates as our main source of fuel. We're not kind of doing intermittent fasting. Those people are more fat adaptive. But if you're carb adaptive, you should eat the correct portions that you need, and you should be eating those portions every 3 to 4 hours. So it would be to eat more frequently, really good, high nutrient dense food. The other secret weapon that is here is it's the power of cardio, and cardio will melt fat off of your body. It's almost like however much you put in, you get out. Now, do I think you should be a slave to a cardio machine? No, but you do need it for cardiovascular health, and you need it for other really important things. So my 2 bonus tips are to eat your meals more frequently, between 3 and 4 hours, and eating the right thing more frequently, and get in extra cardio as much as you can. You've got weight training, you've got knowing what your needs are, knowing what your lean muscle mass is. That's key. Eating every 3 to 4 hours and getting more cardio in than you normally would. That is how you are going to lose weight. And having an awesome community around you. That's what I have at One Lifted Life. It's an awesome Facebook group. If you're having any issues losing weight, go ahead and schedule your fitness evaluation with me, and I will help you along the way. Thank you guys so much for being here, and can't wait to lose some weight with you. All right, see you on the next one. Bye-bye.